Hello. Let's review how this week's astrology transits of January 11 to the 17th weave into the Torah portion of Vayera. Authority, pressure, and what happens when systems cannot bend. The Torah portion of Vayera opens in a place that can feel uncomfortable. Nothing improves yet. The people are still enslaved. Pharaoh is still in power, and the pressure increases. This is not a week about freedom. It's a week about pressure and what pressure reveals. In Vayera, the first 7 plagues appear. They're often read as punishments. But that reading misses something essential. The plagues are not random acts of destruction. They arrive in a clear sequence. They begin with water. Then they move into homes, then into bodies, then into the economy and infrastructure. In other words, they move through the very systems that make daily life possible. What the plagues are actually showing. Pharaoh is not introduced as a monster. That's not how he's presented to us. He is introduced as a ruler, maintaining a system. That system once worked. It was organized. It was efficient. It contained chaos. It restricted it. But life changed. The people multiplied. Growth exceeded the container, exceeded the vessel. And instead of adapting, authority tightened. This is the turning point of Shmot, of the book of Shmot, the book of Exodus. When a system tightens against life, life pushes back. That's what the plagues are. They're not punishment, they're feedback. So astrology tells us something interesting. Let's look into it. At the beginning of this week, the sky reflects the same tension. There is what astrologers call a grand square, which is a pattern that creates pressure from several directions at once. The moon in Libra is opposing Chiron, bringing sensitivity around balance, fairness, and old relational wounds. At the same time, several planets are tied together in Capricorn, the sign of authority, rules, and responsibility. And they are opposing Jupiter in Cancer, which governs home, emotional safety, and what nourishes life. You don't need to know astrology to feel what this means. It simply tells us structure is pressing against life and something needs to adjust. So where pressure moves next? Vayera teaches something very important. Pressure does not stay external. When authority refuses to soften, pressure moves inward. It shows up as irritability, overwhelmed, body tension, emotional sensitivity, fatigue. This is why the plagues move closer and closer to the body. What cannot adapt externally will eventually be felt internally. The inner practice, the human accessibility. How is this hitting home? So the practice this week is not rebellion and is not compliance, is awareness. Ask yourself gently, where am I tightening control instead of listening? Where am I enforcing a structure that no longer supports growth? Where am I hardening when life is asking for flexibility? This is not about doing more. It's about softening without collapsing. Vayera reminds us the following. Freedom doesn't begin with movement. It begins with seeing clearly. This is the turning of times, and we meet it with awareness, not urgency.